Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns. Over and over and over again. That's how we kicked off this episode, just non-stop chanting. For what felt like 50 straight minutes, it was Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. Then it switched up to we are bots. We are bots. Like, really? We're just going to keep repeating the same things on loop? It's like watching a broken record in action. This episode of Raw? Yeah, you already know what I'm calling it. This Raw is garbage. Part 32. Why? Because it's the 32nd Raw of the year. And once again, it wasn't good. And to top it off, they opened the show with a full-on Roman Reigns praise fest. Now, don't get me wrong, Roman is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. But come on, this was just overkill. The crowd wouldn't stop. Roman, stand up if you love Roman. Like, seriously? It felt more like a pep rally than the start of a wrestling show. Chill out. And when we finally got to the actual promo, Roman said, basically nothing. I mean, you've been away from TV for how long and that's all you've got? This man could have gone in on Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Paul Heyman, or even Bronson Reed. Just buried them on the mic like he used to back in the Tribal Chief glory days. But instead, we got a bunch of vague talk about libations and how he's not the same guy he used to be. Like, what? Remember when Roman was cutting those fire promos before WrestleMania 40? That version of him would have taken names and scorched the earth. This version just reminisces and says a whole lot of nothing. He even referenced Cody Rhodes' promo. You know, the one where Cody predicted Roman would be a chief without a tribe. And the wild part? The crowd booed Cody just for Roman mentioning him. Roman caught it and just smirked, saying, interesting, that's where we're at now. Then the crowd switches gears and starts chanting F you Rollins. Absolute chaos. Roman talks about how he has no bloodline anymore, how things have changed. He says that like 3 or 4 times, but never goes deep into it. Just keeps circling the same point like we didn't get it the first time. He brings up Jey Uso being in the fatal 4-way and says he's proud of him, respects him, loves him, and that Jey has a rematch clause for the world title at Clash in Paris. Which leads me to this question I've been asking for over a year now. Where is Roman Reigns' rematch clause? The man was champion for 4 years. He comes back, and the first thing he does is get involved with Solo Sikoa over the Ula Fala. That's it. Meanwhile, Gunther gets a rematch clause. Liv Morgan gets rematch clauses every other week. And Cody? He had to go through a whole King of the Ring tournament just to face Cena again at SummerSlam. None of it makes sense. Roman says the Vision took everything from him, even his shoes. And then, just when you think it can't get any duller, Paul Heyman shows up. And let me tell you, Heyman has been boring us to death for months. His involvement in this storyline is a disaster. Nothing he says adds any value. No heat, no insight, no memorable promos, just empty words. Since joining the Vision, Heyman has delivered absolutely 0 standout promos. Post-WrestleMania, it's been a steady decline. The crowd knows it too. They literally started chanting for him to shut up during his promo. The crowd wasn't having it. They were basically chanting at both Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed to shut up, or STFU, like whatever version they chose. And honestly, that sums it up. No one really cared what they had to say. It's the same reaction every week because neither of them is saying anything new or interesting. Then Paul Heyman gets on the mic and does his usual, I still love Roman, I still believe in Roman, I still appreciate Roman routine. Like always, it's just more talk about love, respect, and admiration. Meanwhile, Roman Reigns is just standing there, taking it all in, looking around like he's shocked he has no bloodline behind him. But come on, you were just teaming with the bloodline at Survivor Series less than a year ago. They even helped you again earlier this year on Raw when the show launched on Netflix. So what's this I'm all alone narrative now? It feels like pure filler. Nothing of substance happened in this entire segment. Just a bunch of crowd adoration and empty promos. Then Bronson Reed jumps in and finally adds something remotely interesting. He says he is the danger, that he's Samoan too, but from a tribe that was exiled to Australia. He calls out Roman, saying his tattoos were earned, while Romans were just bought. That part actually introduced an intriguing dynamic between them. But of course, right after that, the crowd goes back to chanting for him to shut up. Bronson fires back, saying Roman doesn't want him stepping in that ring because if he does, he'll embarrass and destroy him. Roman responds by saying, you don't need to come here, I'm coming to you. And then they brawl. They start going at it. Security comes rushing out. Roman's hitting Superman punches, diving on people, chaos everywhere. That's how the segment ends. And honestly, It's the same predictable ending we've seen a dozen times now. Classic WWE formula. And at this point, it's just exhausting. This whole thing felt like a giant waste of time, a filler segment through and through. Roman Reigns has gone from being one of the most compelling champions in modern wrestling history to whatever this is. It's embarrassing. The drop-off post-WrestleMania 40 is staggering. It's like watching two completely different versions of the same man. Roman should be cutting top-tier promos, going after people on the mic, telling deep, intense stories. That's what made the tribal chief character so special. Not whining about losing his shoes. This segment was just dumb. Embarrassing even. After that, we got Dragon Lee versus JD McDonough. And finally, some wrestling that was actually solid. The match was fun to watch. Both guys showed off some great athleticism, with stiff strikes and physicality throughout. Those German suplexes, brutal. JD did a great job selling, and Dragon Lee really brought the energy. Toward the end, AJ Styles showed up, continuing this weird storyline where he just randomly flies around the world to fight people he's mad at. Kind of like when he ambushed LA Knight at Elimination Chamber. This time, he goes after Dominic Mysterio, brawling with him at ringside. Meanwhile, Dragon Lee picks up the win over JD McDonough. Both guys look strong, and the match was definitely entertaining. That said, this whole AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio thing is getting stale. They've been brawling nonstop for weeks now. It's repetitive. I assume AJ's going to take Dom's title soon, and maybe, just maybe, we get a program with AJ Styles and John Cena down the line. But with how Cena's retirement run is being handled, they might as well throw that match on a random SmackDown episode at this point. Then we got Penta versus Kofi Kingston. Again, and honestly, no one cares. I've already ranted about this last week. At the end of the day, WWE and Triple H, aka Triple Fraud, just keep recycling the same matches and segments over and over again. No stakes, no freshness, just constant repetition. So for example, Roman Reigns comes out again, says basically nothing, just like he's done since returning as the OTC, and then the segment ends in a brawl. That's literally the whole formula now. And then you get stuff like what's happening with New Day. First, Grayson Waller wrestles one member, then the next week, Xavier Woods fights him, and then it's Kofi Kingston's turn. It's the same cycle on repeat. This reminds me of how WWE built up SummerSlam with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. You had Raquel and Roxanne facing Alexa and Charlotte over and over in every possible combination. Raquel versus Charlotte, Raquel versus Alexa, Roxanne versus Charlotte, Roxanne versus Alexa. Then finally, they throw them into a tag match. It's not creative. It's lazy. It's repetitive. And it's honestly insulting to the audience's intelligence. Are we really supposed to believe that the best WWE can come up with is having the same people wrestle the same opponents for 4 straight weeks, just to cap it off with a forgettable match at a predictable PLE? Then they rinse and repeat the whole thing with a new group. It's just mindless booking at this point. Look, Kofi versus Penta was okay. The match itself wasn't bad, but it was just so forgettable I ended up tuning out halfway through. That's how little it mattered. Then we go backstage for another segment, this time with Rhea Ripley and IYO Sky. And surprise, they respect each other. Again, because apparently every backstage promo between top women in WWE now just boils down to I respect you, I love you, I'm proud of you. And who's lurking in the background? You guessed it. Asuka and Kairi Sane, who are clearly not happy about the Rhea IYO love fest. It's like watching a middle school drama play out. I love you, Rhea. I love you too, IYO. I can't help you anymore. My family disapproves. Cue emotional hug. Like, what are we even doing here? This is elementary level storytelling. We've heard Rhea and IYO say the same thing over and over about respect, care, pride. IYO even ends the segment by saying she can't continue helping Rhea because Kairi and Asuka are upset with their friendship. Then she walks away dramatically after hugging Rhea. Meanwhile, Kairi and Asuka look on, visibly annoyed. That's the whole segment. Let's move on, please. Next up, we got Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez. Just hold tight for that one. But first, there was a promo segment featuring Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella. Becky comes out and delivers a quick intro before Nikki Bella interrupts. Nikki cuts right to it saying, "If you're not a dog, then why are you acting like a B-word?" A pretty sharp line to kick things off. The two get in the ring and continue their back and forth. Nikki talks about how she paved the way for Becky's success. Fair point, but Becky shrugs it off and says she doesn't care. Nikki fires back again, calling Becky a scared little girl who used to hide in Charlotte Flair's shadow. Not gonna lie, that was a good line. Becky tries to push back by saying she's no one's sidekick, but Nikki keeps digging in, saying that the fans Becky once insulted are the very ones who made her relevant, and that now Nikki's the one making her relevant again. The crowd even starts chanting, "Becky's desperate!" Eventually, Becky says she's not a coward and agrees to give Nikki a match at Clash in Paris for the IC title. So that's official now. But let's be real. Does anyone actually care about this match? The storyline's just kind of there. The only truly interesting moment was that promo a few weeks ago when Becky did the "you can't see me" bit. That had some flair. But this promo, Nikki Bella did a decent job. Becky, though, she was all over the place. Random lines. And then, for some reason, she mentioned the passing of Ozzy Osbourne, which felt completely out of nowhere. I'm just sitting there thinking, what are we even doing at this point? Becky's run as champion the past few weeks has been bland, repetitive, and downright boring. Even the line where she said, "Sports Illustrated calls me the GOAT too," was just cringe, like, relax. Anyway, then we move on to Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez. Almost said IYO Sky, easy mistake when you're forced to sit through 15 rematches every single show. So Rhea goes out and faces Roxanne. And what stands out to me is the sheer amount of favoritism in her booking. When IYO's in a match and outside interference happens, she conveniently gets distracted and ends up losing. But when Raquel Rodriguez tries to interfere in this match, Rhea just shrugs it off, hits the riptide, and pins Roxanne clean in the middle of the ring. It's the same pattern. Rhea's booked like she's invincible, while everyone else looks like they're struggling just to keep up. Look back at Night of Champions. She single-handedly destroyed Raquel, wrecked Roxanne, then slammed Raquel through a table and pinned her. Meanwhile, other women are being booked to lose to a roll-up. It's ridiculous. The match itself, totally forgettable. Even Michael Cole said before it started that we've already seen this match 3 or 4 times. So, what's the point? It's the same thing over and over. Nothing new. After the match, a brawl breaks out between Raquel and Roxanne. Then, hilariously, IYO Sky, who just said she can't help Rhea anymore because it would upset Asuka, and Kairi Sane, runs out to help her anyway. They hug, do that little pointing dance IYO does, and we move on. So yeah, nothing matters. Every segment either contradicts the one before it or gets undone at the next show or PLE. There's no consistency, no stakes, and half of these matches aren't even good. Then we get AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. AJ is nearing his 50s, Baylor's in his 40s, and we've already seen this match multiple times this year. There's nothing new here. Styles wins. Let's move on. Finn eats another pin, like always. After that, we cut backstage where Adam Pearce announces that next week on Raw, we'll find out who Stephanie Vaquer will face for the World Championship and when the match will take place. Really? We're just picking a random challenger for the top title on the brand? No tournament? No qualifying match? No storyline buildup? Just an announcement next week? It's nonsense. Nothing makes sense anymore. Then there's another backstage segment confirming that Dominic Mysterio will face AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship next Monday on Raw in France. Not at Clash in Paris, the actual premium live event, but on Raw. And it's like, why? Why wouldn't you give AJ Styles, who's probably retiring in the next year or two, a meaningful title match at a big international show like Clash in Paris? Let the man have a memorable moment on a major stage. But nope, we're doing it on a regular episode of Raw where the match will probably go 10 minutes. And maybe he wins. That's the level of effort we're seeing from Triple H and his team. Even during LA Knight and Braun Breaker's pre-match brawl, people were saying Triple H wasn't even backstage. So what are we doing here? It's honestly embarrassing. As much as they talk about respect on this show, it feels like there's zero respect being shown to legends like AJ Styles. He's out here week after week, putting in work, and he can't even get a premium live event title match. Meanwhile, Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch, who've had one promo together, get a big IC title match at Clash in Paris. Rusev and Sheamus have been fighting for weeks, and they get a match too. But AJ Styles? Nah, throw him on Raw. So AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio is for an actual championship, and they still couldn't find a spot for it on the premium live event in France? You saw how the crowd reacted to AJ last year in France during that tag with Cody Rhodes. He was beloved, and now nothing. I'm honestly out of words for how dumb this is. Moving on again, we had a backstage segment with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Roman finally decides to give Jey some advice. Not at WrestleMania, mind you, when Jey was in the biggest match of his career, but for a random fatal four-way that he'll probably lose. Roman tells Jey to seize the moment, make the family proud, and to do it for himself. You know, go be a champion and bring the gold back home. Cool advice. Just several months too late. Right after that, Roman hits a Superman punch on Bronson Reed backstage, and then LA Knight and Braun Breaker start brawling as their match begins. I didn't even bother watching most of it. Just caught the last minute because we all know how these matches end by now. It's the same formula. Vision shows up at the end, then you get a chaotic brawl involving Punk, Sammy, Braun, Penta, or LA Knight. And the show wraps with everyone scrapping in the ring, and surprise! That's exactly what happened again. Vision hits the scene, chaos erupts, and Jey Uso stands tall as Vision retreats to the ramp. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins acts like he's some mastermind because the babyfaces are all fighting each other before the fatal four-way. Classic O. And just to add an insult to injury, LA Knight got pinned by Braun Breaker 6 days before the world title match. 6 days? That tells you everything. Triple H clearly has no interest in pushing LA Knight, no matter how over he is. LA Knight keeps doing great work, keeps getting huge reactions, and all he gets in return is more losses. Imagine getting pinned clean less than a week before a championship match. It's flat out disrespectful. Anyway, that's how the show ends. Punk and LA Knight shove each other. They brawl for a bit. Punk pushes Knight into a super kick from Jey, and Jey stands tall, ending the show with his signature yeet. And that wraps it. This episode of Raw was complete garbage. It's the same thing every single week. Same matches, same promos, same segments. Storylines either don't progress at all, or they do, but nobody cares. Because there's no depth to any of it. Nothing feels fresh, nothing feels meaningful. This is why viewership is dropping. And when you start asking fans to pay $30 plus a month on ESPN for premium live events that only have 4 matches and no real hype behind them, a lot of people are going to stop caring altogether, if they haven't already. This Raw gets a 2 out of 10 from me. Total waste of time. It's the 32nd episode of the year, and sadly, it feels exactly like the last 31. But hey, they're going to keep pushing forward regardless. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support as always. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out. One love.